Hi guys, Jurassic Junkie here, and I am retiring. Welcome to the Friday Night Rant. So yes, I am retiring the sponsored by drink. So yes, that drink has been with us since day one of the Friday Night Rant, and this is all the way up to, what, 100 and episode 10 or something like that? I don't know off the top of my head. But the point is, every single week it's always been an alcohol beverage. It's actually quite hard to get 100 different alcohol beverages. But on top of it, I want to be healthy now and I want to stop purchasing alcohol. I'll still treat myself every so often, but I don't want to be drinking it every single week just to have one on camera. So I know that's going to upset a few and I do apologise. So to make it up for you, here is a drinking montage. So let's jump straight in then with Elder Scrolls Online. Now this is something I wanted to talk about last week, but I didn't have enough time. What it is obviously Elder Scrolls Online is coming very soon. The beta has been rolled out. Jo managed to actually get beta access, but she couldn't play it because she cannot play mouse and keyboard. She needs a controller, and from what I can tell, there's no controller support at the moment. But anyway, I'm digressing. Back to the topic, and that is its online subscription. So we've all been guessing there's going to be an online subscription, but the point was how much. So the facts and figures are out now, and it's simply saying that Elder Scrolls will cost you $60 to purchase the game and also $15 a month for the actual subscription. Now personally, after that information, I'm going, no chance. Now, I do like the Elder Scrolls series. I want a massive fan of Skyrim, but I've got my reasons for that. But the point is, I was looking forward to this game, and I cannot pay $60 and then on top of it, a subscription fee. Now the most I've ever done is on Battlefield. I actually brought the season pass to just get all that downloadable content, but I did that and straight away I said I'm never buying a season pass again, and ever since I haven't. Now I definitely don't want to get tied into paying for every single month, because the thing is, I like to play my games in different ways. As a new game comes out, I'll play that more than I will another. So I don't want to be paying for a subscription knowing I should play it a little bit. And some people might say, well, you don't always have to pay. That's fair enough, but what happens that day when I go, I do fancy it, I just want to jump on? Now personally, I think they've gone the wrong way about this. Now I'm not saying it's bad to have a subscription fee. Some people work like that. Now World of Warcraft is a great example. But I think with the actual prices of brand new games at the moment being very expensive, Elder Scrolls should have just come out and says, look, we're going to charge a lot less. We're going to charge 20 quid, or even the game is completely free and you get a starter pack of 18 hours or something random like that. Now if that appeared on the Xbox One dashboard, here is Elder Scrolls for free, you can play it for so many hours and then we're going to ask you for some money, I'll be like, brilliant. And the thing is, that gives you the hook, because then you can actually play it, taste it and go, yeah, I'm going to pay for this. And you might even only pay for a month, but they've already got you 15 quid. And the thing is, all they need to do is get about 4 months subscription out of you, and that's how much the game would have cost you in the first place. And the thing is, I've been reading the very similar thing on the internet. People that are actually massive Elder Scrolls fans and actually been waiting for this, a lot of them are turning their nose up at the actual price tag of this. So I think they should either charge next to nothing or nothing at all for the game and have a subscription fee, or charge for the game and have a very small subscription fee. But they seem to have gone out and wanted both. So we'll see how this actual Elder Scrolls Online will actually pan out over the next few months. So the next thing I want to talk about is not bashing PC or this Steam crap that I've been talking about lately. But the thing is, with the new two consoles coming out, and obviously PC kind of always goes against console, and I've got no problems with that. But the thing is, the thing I read over and over again on the internet is people saying, like, for instance, the Steam box, the low-end Steam box is the equivalent power or even better power than the current gen consoles. So they're kind of saying, even the low-end Steam machine will actually be better than an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4. Now what I want to talk about is this keyword called optimization. Now what a lot of people don't really think or take into account is you could build a rig which is probably, let's just say for instance, twice the powerful as an Xbox One. Now a lot of people think, well, that means I get twice as much power out of it. And fair enough, on paper, yes you do. But the thing a lot of PC gamers forget about is the joy of console is the keyword of optimization. So for example, let's jump in and talk about the 360. The 360 ran BioShock Infinite and it looked gorgeous. One of the best looking games I ever saw that generation. Now that ran on 512 megabytes of memory, which first of all, you have to tip your hat to the developers to making a game like that run on 512. But then you take that same game and stick it onto a PC, and the actual minimum requirements, the minimum to get it running, is 2 gigabytes of memory, so already 4 times the amount of memory than the console. So that means you'll be playing it at the bottom end of the specs, and they won't necessarily look as good as console. But don't get me wrong, then on the PC side you can put 10 terabytes of memory in there and you'll have glorious graphics. But the point stands, if you look at stats on paper and just think they are the truth, then you are wrong. So yes, a low-end Steam machine on paper could be more powerful than a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, but the point is, because people make so many different variations and versions of these actual PCs, it means it's impossible for the developers to optimize for every different flavor. But the joy of console is there is one PlayStation 4, there's one Xbox One. So when they optimize for that, it's optimized for every one of that flavor of console. So that's why we can see better performance out of consoles than we can on PC. Now, I'm not saying they perform better than PC, but when you look at what actual hardware they've got, they actually perform better than if you made a PC of the equivalent. So that just makes me think the actual future for console gaming is so bright. If you could make Bioshock Infinite look like you did on 512s, God knows what you can do with the current actual hardware that you've got to play with. Right, so the next thing I want to talk about, again, is something I wanted to touch on last week, but the thing is, there wasn't that much information out about it, and still we live in the point where there's not much information about it, so I might as well say my 2 cents until it's actually all cleared up. And that is PlayStation Now. So for anybody that lives underneath a rock, PlayStation Now is now Sony's new way to actually be able to stream games from a server to your device. So I'm kind of mixed about this entire thing. Now, first off, a lot of people are saying this now means PlayStation is backwards compatible, and I just say bullshit to that comment. To me, backwards compatibility means if you own that game on the PlayStation 3, it means you can then play it on the PlayStation 4. That's backwards compatibility. If you have to now go out and buy a new digital version of a game, that's not backwards compatibility at all. But I'm taking it away from the point. The thing is, they're now bringing your PlayStation 3 collection, PlayStation 2, and all the way back to PlayStation 1. Now, from the get-go, we don't know exactly what games are going to be available. It seems like there's going to be a small handful to start off with until they've actually got everything into the actual Gaikai cloud or whatever it's called. But the thing is, I've been waiting for is the actual price behind this. Now, as of the time of me filming this video, there is nothing actually been said exactly if it's going to be rentable, if it's actually going to be paid per individual game. So let me tell you what I do like and don't like. Now, first thing, the part that I absolutely love is not only will it actually stream to your PlayStation 3 or even to your Vita, or even to say you're going to bring it to mobile and even tablets. The thing is, it can be streamed to your Sony Bravio Tele, which I think is an absolutely brilliant way to get people that don't want to go out and buy a PlayStation, but actually fancy just playing The Last of Us. They can actually instantly stream it to their television. So that is massive thumbs up for that. The thing I actually have a problem with, now some people may think I'm actually saying these comments because it's something that Sony's done, and obviously I am a Microsoft fan, but the thing is, even if Microsoft did this, so let's say Microsoft says, right, you can now play some of your 360 collection, but you have to buy them digitally. Again, I personally wouldn't opt into that. I would actually go and actually buy those games that I actually wanted to play second-hand on my 360 that I've still got, and then once I've clocked it, I can then go off and sell them. Now, I know in past videos I've actually said I'm actually up for this digital world, and I'm waiting for the prices to drop. But the thing is, the thing I want more than anything when it's digital, it's my online competitive games. But when there's a game come out, which I know it's going to be a single player, one play game, I will never buy that digitally because I'll play it and actually sell it. Now, for instance, the game Last of Us, I've not actually played this game, and it is one of them Sony gems that I've actually missed, and I will get around to playing it. But for me, that doesn't own a PlayStation 4, if they brought this service out, and I do have a Sony television, I personally am more inclined to go and buy myself a very cheap PlayStation 3 and The Last of Us, and then when I play it, I can actually sell that game and actually purchase another game than I would be buying them digitally via the cloud. But again, this all hangs on the actual price. Now, there's some rumours saying it's going to be rentable. Now, if you could just instantly pay a monthly subscription and get the full catalogue, then that's going to be pretty damn good. And again, it all consists of what this catalogue is going to be. But the other thing is, what's the price plan going to be? Because we've seen that both Sony and Microsoft tend to actually charge you a lot of money for their brand new games digitally. But the problem is what we do see on Steam, after a year or so, the games come down in price. But yet Microsoft and Sony tend not to do that. You can find a game which is a year or maybe 2 years old, and they're still very pricey digitally. Now if Sony can actually shake the shackles of this and actually sell some of their old collection off really, really cheap, I think this is going to be a great service. But if they're actually going to be saying Last of Us is kind of new still, so we want to charge about 40 or even say £30, there isn't a chance you can interest me in that. So at the moment, it's quite hard to say if I actually like or hate this actual thing, because we don't know if it's rentable, we don't know if we buy them, and if we are buying them, what price are we doing it at? Well, the only other thing that slightly leaves a sour taste in my mouth about all this is Sony's actually paid £300 million to actually get this service up and running. Now, don't get me wrong, people enjoy backwards compatibility, if you want to call it that. And I think that's great, but I don't think it's a service that needs to be here right this second. I think if you introduced it 2 years into the actual PlayStation 4's lifespan, it was brilliant, you've got your new collection, and now we introduce your old collection again. Personally, I think if you have £300 million lying around spare, they should have invested that into exclusive games. Now, you saw that Microsoft turned around and says they've got £1 billion to spend on exclusive games, and they have done so, and that's why I personally think the Xbox One has a ridiculously strong exclusive lineup, and we've got a load more games coming in the future. Whereas when I look at Sony's lineup of actual exclusive games, I personally think it's very weak. Now I would have preferred Sony to take that £300 million and chuck it into building a load of exclusives, and then looked at adding this cloud service maybe 2 years down the line. Because for me, if I actually buy a PlayStation 4, if I've got the Xbox One, it's a new piece of kit, and what I want is new games, not be able to play old games. I want the big titles to justify the price that I've paid for this piece of hardware. So yes, I'm up in the air about this really, and I know it's going to cause a few people to have a few arguments in the comments, but it's my opinion. So the next thing I want to talk about is just 2 pieces of EA news, and it's not the kind of news that warrants me spinning around in my chair, if I was in a chair. And I've just realised for anybody who's actually a new viewer, you will not understand that reference at all, and to you, I apologise. The first piece is, and I'm going to hold my tablet up because I'm going to mess this up, it is Criterion's Game Vice President and Creative Director Alex Ward has now parted ways from EA. So he was the actual power behind a lot of things like Need for Speed, and especially the Burnout series. Now Burnout is one of them games that I played and I fell in love with, and I've been waiting for God knows the last 4 or 5 years now for a new Burnout game. So either way, Alex has now parted with EA to actually go off and start his own studio, which I think is great, because that means now he's no longer in control of EA and can obviously jump down and say, I want to create these load of games. Now, as soon as I read it, I thought, brilliant, you go and make yourself a Burnout ripoff, because obviously you can't make Burnout because that IP is still owned by EA. But sadly, after a little interview with Alex, he's actually turned around and says that he wants to go and do something completely different. Now, I can actually understand why he's doing that, because he's gone from Burnout and Need for Speed to car games, and it must get boring doing the same thing over and over again. So it's going to be interesting exactly what that studio is going to do. Personally, I'm excited because when we did actually see that Infinity Ward lost some of its best brains and they ran off and made Respawn, and I was excited about that a few years ago when it happened, and then up popped Titanfall, which is absolutely brilliant. So fingers crossed he can go off, disappear, make a studio and come back with an absolute amazing game. So that does leave us on beautifully to Titanfall, and the only piece of news is beta access is actually being granted to Xbox One users at the moment, and if you want to get a piece of that action, click the link down below, and all you'll need to do is sign in with your Origin account, and then you'll be notified if your Xbox is going to be ready to play Titanfall. Another thing I want to say is Titanfall is actually bringing out its very own controller. I'll put a little image up above. Now, first of all, I was actually getting really excited about this game, and I wanted that big, stupid, gigantic figure, which is like that big. But then the trouble is, in the UK, the price tag I think is around about £250, and I cannot justify it. I would love to be able to do it, and even if I had 250 quid in my hand, I would just see that and go, that's 5 AAA titles right there, instead of just a random thing that's going to sit on my shelf. But I am actually quite interested in this controller, because first of all, I think it looks very sexy, and second of all, it actually reminds me of a Cerberus style controller from the Mass Effect series. And the thing more than anything is it's actually a nice piece to actually put on the shelf and go, there's a nice piece of Titanfall merchandise there, and also it can actually be utilised if my controller ever dies, I can actually use it, so it's not a wasted amount of money. So then, that leaves us with the question of the week, and that comes from Facebook's very own Ian Walker, who says, with The Witcher being turned into a board game, what other franchises would you like to see turn into tabletop form? Now, this is something I've not spoke about because, to be fair, I don't think there's a massive amount of Witcher fans out there. I wish there was more. But yes, when I did actually see that The Witcher was making his tabletop, I lost my shit, and I will definitely be purchasing that. Now, I'm not a big tabletop fan. When I was a kid, I dabbled in Dungeons and Dragons, but ever since then, I've never really played board games, and I think it's great. I'm really looking forward to get it back. Joe's never really played any, so I'm going to force her into it. My niece is a super geek anyway, so I'm going to get her in on it. I'm looking forward to it. But to answer your question, if I could see a game go in tabletop form, I would personally want to see either Mass Effect, because I just really love that series. I'd like to see what kind of twist they could do on it on tabletop form. But personally, I think Fable would work perfectly. And plus, I'd actually have a higher chance of getting Joe playing a Fable game with me than more than I would a Mass Effect one. So the question of the week goes out to you guys. If you could have one of your game franchises turned into a tabletop form, what franchise would that be? And now I'm going to love you and leave you and simply say I hope you all have a great weekend. And I was about to say, and as always, thank you very much for watching, and then I was going to clink you, and I realised I am got no glass in my hand, so I don't actually know how to end these ones, so I'm just going to finish it right now. Cheers!